Mike's Daily Podcast.
Happy International Museums Day. Have you been to a museum today? Today I will take you on a tour through some interesting artifacts of the world today. My name is Mike Matthews. We are broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth. It is episode 1345, 1345. Hi, I'm Mike Matthews. I'm feeling a little bit dizzy.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm a little dizzy today. I woke up. I think I've got like a sinus thing. I don't know. Ow.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We'll also hear from Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley, and maybe someone else. I don't think so. Maybe not. I had a visit to Costco and it was hot. It was hot. The hot dog I had was hot. It's so unhealthy, but I like to eat it because I'm not wealthy. I like to eat the hot dogs. They gave me some sauerkraut.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I didn't know they gave you sauerkraut. And then I was with my friend Nick and his friend. Oh, God, I can't think of Nick's friend. Anyway.
Mike's.
And he said to me,
Daily
Mike, when you go to Costco
Podcast
and you get the hot dog, get the sauerkraut.
Yeah.
And I said, why are you talking like this? You never talk like this, Mike. And I said, okay. I guess I'm going to talk like this. It's kind of like James Mason. Hey, I'm like that anteater from that old cartoon years ago. And wasn't he in Toy Story 2? So, what I did was I got the sauerkraut and I put it on there. It was amazing, my friend. You have to ask for it, though. Look who just walked in. Hello, Michael Master. It's Madame Rootabega. And I love being here at Cafe Anyway. Oh, it's so beautiful. Do you like sauerkraut? Yeah, it's okay. I'm loving it. I hate McDonald's. I want to smack it upside the head. You're hitting me upside the head. Stop that. Look who else walked in. Hello, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? We have all these little sounders, don't we, going on? Thanks, guys, for stopping by. I needed your help. I need your support to be there today because there's a lot going on. Let's just get right to it. Chris Cornell. We'll have more about that in a second. But 52. This is all breaking as I am recording this, but apparently he hung himself. That's what they're saying. Suicide, possibly. Or maybe what killed Michael Hutchins.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's not Michael Hutchins, don't worry. It's not in excess. It's a museum because it's International Museums Day, and I thought I'd show you a picture of the computer museum that you can find in Mountain View, and it's a wonderful museum with all the old computers that possibly you grew up with. And over the next couple of months, I'll throw in a picture here and there from the museum of some of the interesting old-time computers they have. They actually have an old Babbage computer, which was never built. But Babbage, back in the, I want to say 200, 300 years ago, came up with the drawings for, or maybe more, came up with the drawings for what would be a computer, what we would call a computer today. And he never had the chance to build it, but from his drawings and specs, they were able to build it, and it resides there at the Computer Museum in San Jose. San Jose? Mountain View? Somewhere in that area. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. I'm generally right in the neighborhood correctly, but no, I wanted to quickly just say Chris Cornell. I don't own any Soundgarden albums, but certainly I would crank up one of his tunes from Soundgarden or Audioslave or any of his solo stuff over the years. And he, 52, about 5 years older than me, he still looked really, really good. The guy was a good-looking fella and an amazing voice. And this was the last thing I thought I would see today in the news, especially somebody posted that I used to work with. He said, I just saw him in concert last Wednesday. So, what the hell? This is really sad. This brings to... it's not a score worth keeping, but in the 90s, there were a lot of rockers, starting with Kurt Cobain, who committed suicide or just died way too young, basically. And you can attribute to that. We had Scott Weiland, who died last year. We had the guy from Sublime who died. This was years ago. And the guy from Blind Melon, the guy from Alice in Chains. It's just horrible. The grunge class of the 90s, there just was, I don't know what was going on with that. I haven't really explored that culture, but something, just a thing. Now, you can say, well, Mike, look at the early 60s and 70s, rather the early 70s, late 60s, where a lot of rock stars died, like the Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin and yeah. Oh, it makes no sense. I don't know, but anyway, I was very sad about Chris Cornell. Roger Ailes died too, former Fox News. Got all kinds of controversy with him and the culture at Fox News. That was, shall we say, very exploitive of the women there. It probably still is, but and people had enough and spoke out against them, and that culture just got shattered. It probably needs to be shattered some more. Is Sean Hannity still working there? I've heard stories about him, but definitely Bill O'Reilly had so many things pinned on him that he eventually just had to say enough. Of course, he blames the media. As we talked about last show, that's the thing to do, is blame the media. Oh, and on C-SPAN today, with the whole the Comey memo, where Comey wrote down the little thing that happened February 14th, where he was having a meeting with Trump, and Trump told the guys in the room, including Mike Pence, the vice president, to leave the room, so it could just be him and Comey. And Trump said to Comey, look, you got to drop this whole Michael Flynn thing. End it. And Comey wrote that down. He wrote it down like a diary entry. That's the Comey memo. It's where he wrote down. Comey was very good at keeping notes on things, going way back to the Bush administration, and he would just hold on to that. And sure enough, it's come back to bite Trump in the butt. And that's probably what Trump was talking about with the tapes tweet that he did. Now, he's been off Twitter, apparently. He hasn't been tweeting that much lately, and the White House has been quiet because they're fed up with what I've been talking about all week, about how every time Trump does something, everybody tries to be on point, and then Trump goes way off point, and everybody's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You can't be a good leader. You got to lead by example first. Well, people on C-SPAN calling up the conservatives that call it, saying, what about Comey and Loretta Lynch and the tarmac and Bill Clinton and Loretta? I don't know. They keep throwing that out. Or Benghazi and Hillary and her server. Okay, we're talking about now, friends. Now. Can we just talk about the crap that's going on now? It's almost as if your house is on fire and you're going, well, what about the time that Rome burned and Nero was playing the fiddle? Talking about something a long time ago. What about when Jeff Foxworthy did that funny skit where he said you might be a redneck? Remember that? Meanwhile, your house is burned to the ground. There's nothing left. And that is, let's talk about now, friends. Let's get this done now. Well, and then whenever they bring up Benghazi, it's like, you guys did stuff about Benghazi, and nothing happened. Hillary is still walking around. And the whole
because you'd be in jail
and all that, and now look who could be in jail. So I am just saying, this is, I don't know. I'm thinking still about how big this is, and obstruction of justice and all that. That's bad. That's big. Yes, but I'm more upset about I'm always more upset about the hypocrisy. That just drives me nuts. And of course, everybody has hypocrisy going on. It's tough being a human, It's sticking to what you believe in. But dang, my head spins when I see the people trying to defend Trump in this situation, and you can't. You can't. It's done. He did this bad thing. He did a bad thing. Oh, Chris Isaak. He's still alive. Hope nothing happens to him. I liked Chris Isaak. Al Green, the Democrat, not the great singer. I'm so in love with you. Everybody loves to sing that line, including our former president.
I appreciate that.
So, anyway, Democrat Al Green said, impeach him. Anyway, thank you for listening to this quirky podcast. Yesterday's podcast, I went out on the edge a couple times, and I guess you reined me back in, and I want to thank you for that. The wonderful website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, where now I have 129 fans on my Facebook Mike's Daily Podcast page. Thank you. And you can help out the show through the Amazon link. Click on that and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that helps us out. There's also a PayPal there. I'm just going to tell you right now, I may not do a show tomorrow. I may not be in tomorrow. I am not. When I hit go and started the show today, I honestly thought nothing was going to come out of my mouth because I was feeling so dizzy, just so out of it. And today, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that out of my hat tomorrow. We shall see. I have faith, though. I'm going to say this about the whole thing, which I have faith. I have faith in our government. I have faith in the people of America. I have faith that those people that have way too much faith in Trump are going to come around at some point. They won't drink the Kool-Aid. They will back away from the cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, and they will say, wait a minute, I believe in America first, just like Trump says over and over again, and I'm not going to let some despot, narcissistic, self-deluded idiot screw things up. And I'm tired of making excuses. You will get tired. The Trump fans will get tired of making excuses. At some point, they'll say, okay, enough. Just let Mike Pence take over, for God's sake. This is out of control. It should be a time of celebration for the Republicans. They've got all three branches of government. Or the Supreme Court is on its way, and yeah. Well, my civics class from high school popped into my head, and I was trying to do the branches of government in my brain, and yeah, right, you got your Supreme Court, your Senate, House of Representatives, your president, and then way over here, there's this place called the Underwear Gnomes, and they come in, and they're very helpful, because when things go bad, they give you advice.
Phase 1, collect underpants. Phase 2, Phase 3, profit.
And say things like that. So now the segment News Random.
Matthew's News.
I'm sorry, Matthew's News. Dizzy. Just remember, I'm dizzy right now. So the representative for Rocker, Chris Cornell, he said to the Associated Press that Chris died last night in Detroit. Sudden and unexpected. And it just goes on and on about the Chris Cornell story. Okay, so this is an old story. This didn't really get to the meat. All right, okay. Let's just go past that. Trump divulged to Russian officials. Well, the intelligence finding that President Trump divulged to Russian officials during a meeting last week at the White House involved an advance in bomb making developed by the Islamic State that could be used against commercial aircraft. Oh, he's talking about the laptops. Yeah. Operatives from ISIS have determined how to implant and mask an explosive inside the battery of a laptop computer. This broke as well early on Wednesday. that this is what they were talking about. Increasing the likelihood that a bomb can be slipped past screeners onto an airplane. The battery with the explosive charge still functions enough to allow airport security officials to power up the laptop, a standard test to determine if the machine is safe. The release of classified information was described in a memo. Let's see. Trump's disclosure of the city where the unfolding plot was being hatched was considered code word information, a super secret classification. The official and the White House played down the value of the information Trump released. It was known to many in the government, and given ISIS's shrinking footprint, there are only a few cities that it could have come from. Okay, so this is sort of getting smaller and smaller, this story. But now we got Robert Mueller, former FBI director, who will now be appointed as a special counsel to oversee a federal investigation into potential coordination between Russia and the Trump campaign to influence the 2016 election. He's got a law firm that he resigned from immediately upon his Wednesday appointment. The appointment came amid a growing Democratic outcry for someone outside the Justice Department to handle the politically charged investigation. So, he will go into that now. As we wrap up the show, because I am not feeling good, owners of the lonely heart of the iPhone will have one more option for their digital voice assistant. Google's Assistant app is now available on the iPhone, giving Apple Siri a run for her money. Google Assistant is the equivalent to Apple Siri and Amazon's Alexa. The Assistant, I don't like that name, do you? What? Google couldn't come up with something more interesting. The Assistant is available as a standalone app as opposed to Alexa, which users access on the primary Amazon app. Could it be Google just said, we don't want to give this device a female name? Because that's what everybody else is doing. And we don't want to come off as sexist. Is that what they're saying? Is that what they're doing? I don't know. Google's Assistant is already available on its Pixel smartphone as well as the Home Speak. Did anyone buy the Pixel smartphone? That was supposed to be the next big thing. It's also on the Google Speaker. Siri will likely maintain an advantage as far as access. Users can simply hold the home button on their iPhone or say, "Hey Siri," to reach Apple's Assistant. However, in the quick test that USA Today did with Siri versus Assistant on the iPhone, the Assistant greatly outclassed Siri in several key areas. Most notably, the Assistant is more chatty than Siri. Google's queries answered with conversation, while Siri would say, "Here's what I found on the web," and display a hyperlink to read the answer. Is that really what's going on? Because I have a crappy Samsung phone that I got for free through Cricket that I dropped trying to take a picture of the band I interviewed a couple months back. And that's the same thing my phone does. So I have Google Assistant on my phone. Because I asked it a question one day and it gave me it was talking to me and I loved it. I didn't have to read anything. Google kicks butt. But then, of course, I get all upset about other things Google does. So, as I go outside a cafe anyway, where I bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, for example, Google Play, they got to get it together with that. Because apparently I'm skipping. If you're listening to this podcast on that, I will sometimes skip. Well, I enjoyed doing this show today, despite the fact I am lying on the ground, about to pass out. Have a wonderful day. What I want you to do is go to a museum, if not today, sometime soon, and look through our history. I was blown away. A couple of years back, I went to a museum piece in Oakland about 1968, the year I was born. And they just happened to have this exhibit about 1968. It was a very turbulent election year, kind of like what we had last year, only times 10, because there were several candidates running. And I just found it so fascinating. They had music. They had the music from the era. They had the whatever we shot up into space. We didn't land on the moon, but we got close that year, preparing the way for our moon landing. And there was the Vietnam War and all that, and Nixon, and so it was a fascinating exhibit. I'll post some more pictures from that too. I was looking at pictures of that yesterday at home. And go to a museum. It's just fascinating stuff. You learn something. All right, there I go. Oh, whew, what a day.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
Next show, it's Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer.